International Affairs Editor Kethevane Gorjestani is with me now here and say, Kethevane, we saw in that report what, in theory, they may or may not have agreed to. It's very unclear, though, isn't it?
Yes, because right now what we have is a memorandum of understanding. Basically, it's a framework to start talking in the next 60 days about things that are way more complicated. But there are two major points in this memorandum of understanding. One is the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is something that basically the whole world has been waiting for. Iran will let ships through and the U.S. will lift its naval blockade. It might take a few days structurally to get everything back up and running, but that seems to be one point of agreement between the two. The other main element of this agreement is a full ceasefire, because it's basically what they had already said, except this time it seems that they're going to implement it, because up till now it was pretty much a ceasefire in name only. And Pakistan announced this with these words: both sides have declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon. That is going to be a very tricky one, because we saw the Israelis saying that they are not going to pull out of Lebanon, of Syria, or of Gaza. Now there's the question of, are we talking about strikes? Are we talking about military presence? But the Pakistani statement says military operations, meaning a presence in another country is a military operation. So we'll have to see whether Israel and Hezbollah agree to the terms agreed by the Iranians and the Americans without them. Let's say this all works out. It holds. It brings us pretty much back to where we were before the war started in late February, because not much else was achieved. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz was open before that. Having a ceasefire, well, they were not technically at war before the U.S. started striking, but you have no real change when it comes to the ballistic program. You still have the enriched uranium in Iran. You still have the Iranian regime in place. All of these things have not really changed. So what this does really, it buys time for some much more complicated talks to be had in the next 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months of complicated talks. I mean, what have they still got to discuss and iron out?
Well, pretty much everything else, and the most complicated elements, of course. What's interesting is that on Friday, when a U.S. administration official briefed reporters about this upcoming deal, they said at the start of the briefing, this deal achieves all of the U.S.'s goal. That's not exactly what we've seen come out of this memorandum of understanding so far, because clearly it does not directly address the nuclear question, which has been left to be negotiated, put aside to be negotiated. So everything there is left to negotiate it. Things like, what happens to that enriched uranium? Does it stay in Iran and is diluted? Is it sent to a third country? Is the United States going to take it the way that administration official actually presented it on Friday? And then more broadly, what happens to Iran's nuclear program? What is Iran going to say yes to? What is the United States going to ask? What will happen? What about inspections? All of these things have not been agreed to. Then there's the question of sanctions relief and the unfreezing of Iranian funds. The United States has been insisting that Iran will not get any of these things until it complies. What does comply mean? Where is the threshold? When will the Iranians be hitting those marks? That we don't know either. And then there are plenty of other issues that we had been talking about in the past that have sort of fallen off from the spotlight, like the question of the ballistic program of Iran, which is clearly still pretty active. And it's something that, for example, the Gulf states really want to be taken care of. And right now, it seems that this is not even on the radar anymore. The Iranians had long been saying, we want U.S. troops out of the Gulf. Is that going to happen? Are they going to talk about that? We don't know. Given how long it has taken to get to this point of this memorandum of understanding that doesn't really agree to much, imagine how long it's going to take to discuss all of these very thorny issues. Will they get there eventually? No one really knows. It's a little bit uncertain. Will they get there in 60 days? that's probably even more uncertain given how complicated these negotiations are. And we've seen this not just in the last few months, but in the last few decades.